Happy Friday, y'all. Stefan, I see you. Today's topics, we'll be talking about SEO strategy for startups. SEO for startups with Nick Frost of Dropbox. Don't forget to visit today's sponsor, hrefs.com/AWT. Again, if you guys want some free stuff from Hrefs, a notebook, a t-shirt, a mug, and some stickers, be sure to count how many times this logo shows up. That's 1. That's 2. Bradley, what's up, my man? Today's topics will be SEO for startups. Don't forget to visit our sponsor, hrefs.com/AWT. Happy Friday, y'all. I just moved into my new pad. It has a swimming pool, so I'm ready to take a dip after the show. Don't be shy, guys. Let me know where you're from. There you guys go. I see you. How you guys doing out there? Is it pretty warm where you're at? It's even hotter where I moved to. Loving the weather here in California. Today's topics, we'll be talking about SEO strategy for startups with Nick Frost from Dropbox Dachshund. Someone I've been advising for the past couple years or so. He's going to share his results of how he's doing. I got a few more SEO in 2022 books to give out. The first 3 people to email me, if you're in the US, I'll send it out to you. Email me, dre@seo.video. Again, if you see this logo pop up, be sure to count it and send me your guesses. dre@seo.video to win some free prizes from hrefs.com/AWT. See a few of you out there. Don't be shy, guys. Say hi. Carol, hello. Hell yeah, Bradley. Come by the pad. Hop in. Barbecue pool party at Dre's. Any day. I'm home 24/7, so come out. Nick, I see you. Hold on, let me see. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, I can hear you too. I don't know, do you hear any echoes or anything like that?
Got like blur the background.
Yeah, that's okay. I can see you now. You can't blur the background. It's gonna be like that. Yeah. Unless you have a fancy camera where you can do the depth of field like me.
At least my background's nice.
Love it, love it. Okay, Nick. So I'm gonna go ahead and go over like a few four videos in the very beginning before I announce you in. And right now everyone is just chilling in the live chat, and you can just talk into live chat. But be sure if you go into YouTube to make sure you're on mute on YouTube with no sound, so we don't get feedback. All right.
How do I do that?
Oh, you have to log on to the YouTube. Just go to YouTube and go to the link. If you go to YouTube, yeah, log into YouTube. Yeah, just log into YouTube and click the link of your show link, and then you'll be able to see.
Let me just find the channel. What's the channel?
SEO video show. Just search SEO video show, and then yeah, it should pop up. And Anatoly, what's up, my man? Happy Friday, Dre and Nick. Hannah, hello.
Cool, got it. So should I be watching the show live, or should I?
Oh no, I mean you could just look into the production right here, because this is where you're going to be a lag on the live show. But just if you want to comment to people that are talking in the live chat, you can do so while I'm in the first part of the show. Yeah. All right. And your mic is hot, so everyone can hear you, whatever you say. So it's good. You can put yourself on mute if you want. All right, Ethan, my man, happy Friday. Charlene, what's up, girl? Breeze Alive, what's up, everyone? Ernesto Nixon, happy Friday, fellas. Lothar from Scotland, hello. Anastasia, what's up? All right, guys, we got less than 2 minutes to go. Put in your shout outs, say what's up in the live chat and where you're from. Today's topics, we'll be talking about SEO for startups with Nick Frost from Dropbox Docsend. Don't forget to visit today's sponsor, hrefs.com/AWT. Bradley, have you seen the new DALL-E 2-AI? It makes pretty crazy photos. No, I have not seen that. DALL-E 2, what's the website, Bradley? Nick Frost, hey everyone. Excited to be here. You guys got any questions for startups? SEO for startups? Anything SEO, startup related? Nick is your man. We got less than 30 seconds to go, you guys. Let me get things ready here.
Hey, time to get it started, no delay, let's work. Wanna see you be an SEO expert. Paul Andre De Vera, steady dropping knowledge. Over 15 years in the game, so he knows all about it. Master the art of SEO, you will be amazed. Time to get your brand off page to on page. Dropping knowledge, legendary for sure. Whether you're just getting started or self-employed entrepreneur. Yeah, let's go. Subscribe to the SEO video show. Hey.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the SEO video show where SEO is alive and fun. My name is Paul-Andre de Vera, aka Dre, and I curate SEO videos released in the past week into about 1 minute clips. My favorite part of the show is when I get to introduce my guest, and my guest this week is my buddy, someone I've been advising for the past 2 years, the Senior Audience Development Manager at Dropbox Docsend, Nick Frost. Okay, before we get started, let's say what's up to everyone in chat. I see Hobby, Nick, Bradley, Anatoly, Carol, Bradley, Hannah, Carol, Starships, Ethan, so much more. Thank you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Now let's get on with the show.
This is Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. Why do SEOs love the farmer's market? Lots of organic content.
All right, first with Google. How Google fought search spam on Google for Google 2021. Google caught 200 times more spam sites in 2021 compared to when they first started nearly 2 decades ago. Thanks in part to their AI-based spam prevention system called SpamBrain. Okay, to read the full blog post, look in the description below. 2 Google events are happening next month that y'all should attend. It's Google I/O and Google Marketing Live. Register is now open. The links are in the description. Okay. Dixon Jones shares his BrightonSEO presentation on how to eat links. Let's check out that one main takeaway.
One takeaway that I want you to take from here is EAT is important for backlinking because EAT is at the heart of page quality score. If your link increases the link's prospect's page quality score, then you're in with a shout of getting a link. But if it reduces or makes no difference to their page quality score, you really have no bargaining chip. You have no discussion to have with that link owner, that site owner. So if you want one mantra about backlink building, link building, Booker T. Washington was an advisor to Roosevelt, I think. He said, associate yourselves with people of good quality, for it's better to be alone than in bad company. And this is my mantra that I look at when I look at link building.
I love to EAT everything. It's an excellent foundation for any marketing strategy. Dixon drops a couple of backlink nuggets in that presentation, so be sure to watch the whole video. How to produce content that contains entities that are closely related to a topic by Marie Haynes. Let's check this one out.
You could do a search for, say you're creating content on how to create a business plan. Do a search for how to create a business plan and see what people also ask say. Those are entities that are closely connected. You want to make sure that you answer those questions in your content. You want to make sure that you have headings that show that you're answering those questions well. Google can pull information out from full documents, but it really helps if we structure our documents in a way that makes it easy for them to say, well, the user had this question and it's very clearly answered in this blog post. And also the related searches at the bottom of a search result, when you get those little bubbles that say closely related, those are things that Google's algorithms think are entities that are closely related. Now, you don't want to go including all of those, and the key here is not to include the keywords. Some of you have been doing looking at people also asks and the related search results as well, and using those as keyword research. The key here is to thoroughly understand, this is the question that users have, and this is the question I need to answer. The point is not to get your keywords on the page. It's to make sure that you've thoroughly answered this question in a way that Google's algorithms can parse out and understand.
I discussed analyzing the Google SERPs in the SEO in 2022 book, which I am giving away for free. 3 copies. For those, if you're in the US, please email me your address and I will send out the copy to the first 3 people that hit me up. Okay, Nathan Gotch put out a video this past week on expired domains called the merger technique for SEO. Let's check it out.
The merger technique. So I coined this method back in 2015 and still use it today. In short, you'll find relevant, expired, or even live domains with strong relevant link profiles and 301 redirect them to your website. Now keep in mind, you have to do this intelligently. In most cases, you shouldn't 301 redirect to your homepage because you'll inherit all of the existing anchor text. Instead, you'll need to create content on your site to support that redirect. For example, we acquired a domain bootstobusiness.org when it expired, which has powerful links from SBA.gov and many other authoritative websites. We then created an article about the previous program to make the 301 as natural as possible. And this example is also proof that using expired domains works for SEO. For example, the keyword boots to business has a 53% keyword difficulty in SEMrush, which is classified as difficult to rank for, and it also gets 1,300 searches per month. My page has been ranking on the first page of Google since 2020, and the links from this expired domain are fueling those rankings. Now, before you use the merger technique, a word of caution: search the trademark database to ensure you aren't infringing on any company's rights.
Expired domains have always been a part of my SEO strategy. When I need a backlink, the first thing I do keyword research on is on expireddomains.net, and I spend a few minutes seeing what domains are available. Ross Simmons, a past guest who dropped many knowledge bombs here, shares how to build a customer journey map. Let's check this out.
So when you're trying to start and create a customer journey map for your audience, it always starts with research. You have to start the process by figuring out where your audience is spending time along that journey to making a decision that they want to buy from you. So at the beginning, they might not even be aware that they have a problem. They might not even know that there's a problem with a certain thing that you can solve. And in those cases, what you need to do is increase their problem awareness. You need to educate them and create stories and content that is going to make them aware of the problem. Once they become aware of the problem, how can you influence them to think about your solution? So you're going to start introducing them to content and to stories that are ultimately going to make them solution aware. And what solution aware is, it's essentially when you are starting to educate folks on an opportunity that exists through your solution, through the thing that you have created and the thing that you're selling.
I love this idea of creating content around the problem awareness. My next SEO strategy will definitely include this tactic. Check out Ross's episode on the SEO video show. It was full of knowledge bombs. Okay, speaking of content, this brings me to my favorite part of the show. But before I introduce our guest, here's a word from our sponsor. Are you sick of your competitors outranking you in the search results? Your solution is Ahrefs Webmaster Tools, and it's free $99. This isn't one of your 14-day free trial offers. Instead, it's a super powerful tool that'll do a full website audit for you and keep working for you for free. It'll scan your site and prioritize precisely what you need to fix and improve for your search results. Visit ahrefs.com webmaster-tools for this free tool. Find the link below, and by checking our sponsors, you support this show. Now let's introduce our guest. Nick is an advisor, startup entrepreneur from Hollywood, California. He served in the U.S. Navy for 5 years. He is the founder of Angel Hack, Startup List, and advisor. He is a Startup Index newsletter writer helping founders raise money through the Doxson Funding Network. Please welcome the Senior Audience Development Manager at Dropbox Doxson, Nick Frost. Nick, my man, welcome to the show.
Hello. It's great to be here.
Welcome. Okay, I'm gonna go straight to this because I asked this question to all my SEO professionals to come on board. In 1 minute or less, how does Nick get ranking on page 1 of Google?
Yeah, let's see. So creating a piece of optimized pillar content focused on a specific keyword is where I start, and then publishing more content around that keyword, interlinking existing relevant pages and content, and then more technical steps like ensuring each piece of content has targeted schema, is crawled, has rich metadata, alt text on images, which is a small but important factor, and also making sure that they're shared on social media consistently.
Love it. First knowledge bomb of the day. Okay, hold on. Let me rewind this. All right, take us way back until how'd you first get into SEO?
Yeah, it wasn't my intention, but I started working in tech, sort of just learning as I went and experimenting and just trying different things. I first started really learning about SEO at a company called Mattermark, and we would publish content to help startup founders and investors learn about trending data in the startup fundraising ecosystem, and getting to know WordPress and just how content is crawled, and things like, just the phrase schema. I had no idea what that meant, but through trial and error and lots of reading and sort of resources, I eventually learned the main pieces of the game.
Nice. Okay, so so then what made you more interested into SEO?
Yeah, over my career, I've always been interested in how to squeeze the most out of organic content. So, a lot of startups and small businesses don't start with capital to pay to spend on paid marketing. So, learning how to increase the value of organic content is critical. Understanding and continuing to learn how SEO can increase traction and revenue has always been exciting for me. With that said, I'm not an SEO expert, but a content marketer that values SEO and loves working on it.
Love it. Okay, so especially for startups, do you feel why do you think even SEO is important for startups? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it goes to every startup starts with a website, or at least online startups. And they kind of start with zero, and they likely don't have funding or revenue at the time. So I think there's value in creating content and sort of telling your story in the industry that you're targeting, so that you can start being seen by those peers and start building that audience organically.
Love it. Okay, so I want to get into more than, okay, how'd you actually learn it? How'd you actually learn SEO?
Yeah, like I mentioned, I mainly learned it through trial and error. My first website was started on WordPress back in 2010. Okay. So I learned about things like Yoast and just all the little details that WordPress can help with. I know there's a lot of other great tools out there that I now employ with my current content marketing gig. But yeah, I mainly just learned it through trial and error, and then reading different resources and watching videos. And just trying to learn as much as I could.
Okay. So when you learned it, so what were some of your resources? I know you said you mentioned some tools like Yoast or something like that, but what are some other of your other resources that you kept you?
Yeah, blogs. I think SEMrush has a good blog. Moz definitely has a really great comprehensive blog, and then just kind of looking around, SEO experts that have SEO, or optimized content. When I Google SEO, right, I'm going to see what they do. So looking at just, high quality content, I follow SEO people on Twitter, and I love threads that sort of break down complex concepts into simple threads to really just digest that stuff quickly.
Love that. You're the first guest to actually mention that, which is actually, you guys, if you guys are in the SEO industry, Twitter is the place to be. There's so many SEO people out there, and they actually really do give out the gold nuggets on Twitter, and they'll explain it after tweet after tweet when they quote their tweet. So I want to get into more about your actual title, because this is something you and I have actually been kind of working together for past couple years. And how does what does a senior audience development manager do? It's such a long title. I know when people have work at companies and say you have some extravagant titles. Break it down for us.
Yeah, it was kind of, I've always worked at startups. Now I technically work at Dropbox, and I've always done sort of just all the random things in marketing that no one else wants to do. And a lot of that deals with targeting new audiences or finding ways to attract new audiences. So there's this phrase that I like to use. It's called increase your gravity. So it's really thinking about how can you just become a bigger entity that's going to automatically or hopefully bring in more of an audience without doing too much work. And I do things like, I run our social media channels. I work with you on SEO. I've developed content. We have a YouTube channel now as well. So it's really just figuring out where is the audience that we're trying to sell to? Where do they live online? How can we be part of those communities? How can we create content for those communities? And then obviously through SEO, how do we find those keywords that those audiences are searching for?
Excellent.
Love that. Okay, so I'm curious, just for everyone that's into startups here, like myself, like what are some communities that you feel like the startup founders are at or like playing at? Like give us an example of like where you're at and you're trying to be at when it comes to like SEO or even just content creation.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. It depends sort of what industry you're in, right? If you're in the sales community, there's Modern Sales Pros, which is really great. Also, another one is Sales Hacker. For startup founders themselves, I mean, Product Hunt is a great place to hang out to see what is new. They have a great Q&A and sort of forum feature that you can interact with other founders. I mean, I think also there are just great people to follow on Twitter. Ryan Hoover, the founder of Product Hunt, Joel Gascoigne, the founder of Buffer, which is kind of a tried and true social media tool. I think it's really just figuring out what is the industry that you're in and find founders in that industry, and then sort of join those communities. There's a lot of great Slack groups. indiehackers.com is a great tool for sort of up-and-coming startup founders that haven't raised money yet. They're really just experimenting, trying to build new tools, hacking together projects. That's a really great active community as well.
Love those resources. Okay, we got our first question here from the audience. They're asking, David Soon asks, as a startup, how are you able to rank higher than the big brand companies? What are your thoughts on that?
How are I able to what?
Rank higher than like the big brand companies.
Oh, yeah. So that's something that Dre and I have definitely worked on, which has been really fun. So I think it's really about targeting. It's about your SEO strategy overall. It can't be just, hey, I want to outrank this one specific brand. There are definitely ways that you can do that, but it's really targeting the keyword first. So one example for us is the keyword pitch deck, right? Mm-hmm. So pitch deck, there's a lot of companies competing for the phrase pitch deck. I think we were ranked 60 or 70 probably a year and a half ago. And we just basically created this giant pillar piece of content, and used a couple tools to optimize that page for that keyword, and then started looking at what sort of supporting content could we create that can basically back up that pillar piece of content, interlinking all of those together, and then that makes that number one pillar piece of content help rank closer to the page one. And yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, if you wanted to do like a direct comparison strategy, then you could essentially say, why, my brand is better than this brand, or, X brand versus X brand, and create a keyword rich page that talks about comparing features, talks about different aspects of the different products. And there's probably not going to be a lot of search volume if you're a startup for a big company compared to your company, but you can pull in some of that keyword ranking from people searching for that bigger brand to your site.
Love it. Okay, so I wanted to go into, you're talking about tools. You said you use some on-page tools when you answered David's question here. What are some of those like on-page tools that you're referring to?
Yeah. So first and foremost, Yoast. Yoast is a great plugin for WordPress, and I love that it has so many detailed features. I can make different featured images for different social sites. I can it gives first keyword suggest a spot, and then you can have supporting keywords that sort of are relevant to that main keyword. It really helps with how we're writing our metadata and everything like that. ClearScope is one that we do in the sort of content creation process. So when we're writing our blogs, we use this tool called ClearScope, and that helps us identify keywords and phrases and just things that we should do to optimize a piece of content. Obviously, SEMrush for monitoring rankings and things like that helps too.
Love it, love it. Okay, so I want to get into like the meat of this presentation here, or the meat of this conversation on getting your SEO strategy out there, sharing your SEO strategy to the world of how you were able to do this. Let me bring this up here. All right, so you were able to double page one rankings and traffic value in 1 year. Like we're looking at over from something that's ranking from 200,000 dollars of traffic value up to $400,000 in traffic value just in 1 year, and double all of your page one rankings. I mean, this is a very, very hard thing to do. I mean, I'm curious, like, what was like one of the first things you did when you got going?
I mean, yeah, the first thing I did when I started working with you was do a site audit, right? Mm-hmm. So it's really figuring out where are the holes in SEO that we weren't taking care of. Mm-hmm. And going through that process of making sure that every page had metadata, it had, alt text on every image, it had, focused keywords, it had schema, it was crawled. And I think that's a really good exercise to go through probably on a, 6-month basis as a company, because you're going to be adding new pages, things might fall through the cracks. And that's the kind of low hanging fruit stuff that you can do to really see value. Yeah, that's where we started.
Yeah, I mean, when we were doing the site audits, I mean, that's when we were actually looking for like the striking distance opportunities, right? Like everything that was on page 2 to move on to page 1. We were doing the technical stuff, making sure that all the metadata was like fixed. And I think there's also one thing that we also did. We looked at the click-through rate of our titles, right? Of our pages, to see which meta title was bringing in the most clicks from pages. And we were actually you were kind of like playing with that with the verbs. Like, can you tell us more of how you were able to optimize your CTR with playing with meta titles?
Yeah, I think a lot of the CTRs for or the metadata for meta titles for our pages and some of the content, it was really like, hey, we have a cool blog post, read it here. Mm-hmm. It was very vague. And so we just did more targeted research on what are these pages trying to convey, right? Making them more interesting, using keywords, of course, and just making sure that they actually could guide the reader or the searcher into what the content actually is. So I think meta titles are a little bit overlooked probably by a lot of content marketers, but they're, if you're working in SEO, they're definitely valuable to increase that click-through rate. And it's good to always, look through those as your team grows, as more marketing is done, more content is created, just continuing to like make sure that everything is up to a high standard. So the CTRs are higher.
Love it. Okay. Speaking of, since you're a content writer and, like making sure that these meta titles are clickable, what are some like power words that you like using in your meta title? I'm just curious, like what's anything that we can use that?
Best, hot, trendy. Just kidding. No, I think for us, it's like, that's like an on the spot question. Let's see. I mean, like best pitch decks, right? Like best pitch deck examples, or like data-driven trends you should know, right? I mean, where a lot of our content is really data-driven, so it's ensuring that, hey, like this isn't just some random, insight or thought from some marketing perspective. It's like these are real answers to the questions you're looking for.
Love it. Love it. Okay. I want to since you're talking about content, like I want to talk about the SEO content types, because you guys use different type of SEO content types of how you actually go after. I mean, yeah, you have your blogs, but there's some certain ones that actually will drive like some like organic traffic magnets. Can you like explain some of those?
Yeah, totally. So I think when you're figuring out what kind of content you want to start creating and, related to SEO, think about like, what kind of access to information do you have? Do you have proprietary data that could be interesting and sort of industry leading? Where I work, we have a lot of proprietary data that we can create research reports and content and content that's never been seen before, or data driven answers that have never been answered before, right? So we do listicles insights around like pitch decks and examples, and sort of like analyzing startup pitch decks and using our data to sort of understand what could change with the pitch deck or not. We do a lot of contributed content as well. So we have this contributor program. So we work with startup founders, investors, industry experts to come in and share their insights with us. From an SEO perspective, we'll work with them on the content, and then we'll sort of like ensure that there's some SEO juice for that content as well. Because usually it's someone's story, which isn't very SEO rich, but we'll work on that. But yeah, it's research, listicles, things like we have a couple of pieces of content that are like comparisons. So how to compare, how does our product compare to these 10 other products? Those are always interesting. But it's also I think there's this sort of like verticalization of content that we try to do too, focused on like the keywords. So for example, like I've been mentioning, pitch deck. We started with the one giant pillar piece based on our research, and then it's like, oh, let's break this research into different pieces of content and link them all together. And those sort of like more bite-sized pieces increase the visibility for the overall research.
Love it. Okay, Hobby has a couple questions here. Hobby's like, he watches the show every week, and he asks here, what is the timeline cost of an SEO campaign and SEO campaign plan costs? What in your experience?
I don't pay the bills, so I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure. I think at least from where I sit, it's I think it's the tools, it's the time that you're spending. But I think for the timeline of seeing like positive results for your SEO work, I would, we've seen results as soon as 2 weeks, right? Yep. But I think generally I feel like the idea is that, you should, start doing SEO work and then check back on that term in 3 months. If you're doing it in the sort of way that we've been doing it, then you can see things happen in 30 days for sure. Yep.
Love it. Yeah, and I can be a witness to that, guys. We've been doing. Nick has been doing so good on getting things, applying concepts that he learns here from the SEO video show, and we meet a few times here and there. And I want to go into like Hobby has another question here, and he asks, "Is this a true or false question?" He goes, "Hey, the future of SEO lies in building an online audience. What's your opinion on that?"
The future of SEO relies on building an online audience.
Yeah, the future.
The future.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I think it depends on maybe the future as an SEO expert. Yeah, build an online audience. But I think SEO is very unique to each company and to each audience and to each keyword, right? You sort of have to form this little SEO bubble around like here's the sphere of things that matter to you in your role as an SEO expert, working with different clients or at a company. For me, we have we have thousands of keywords that we rank for, but we have specific ones that we target each quarter to really focus on, and so instead of having this overwhelming feeling of, I have to target everything all at once. It's like create a focus area, have that little sphere of SEO targeting, and then do that, accomplish it, and then move on to the next one.
Love that. That's some great advice there, guys. Even for me, like even at companies, when you have so many keywords, it can get overwhelming. Like you can, like, where do you start? And for you, Nick, like how have you been able to pick the certain keywords that you've gone after? Like, is it, is it someone coming top down, someone telling you it? Like, how are you picking these ones that you actually focus on each quarter?
Yeah. So, there is, we have a marketing team here. We have goals as a business. We have goals in for our audience, for retention, but also increasing, new customers. And we, because we've been around for a few years, we have historical knowledge of what's worked. but also we can, what we're building is in a competitive space, so we can sort of see where the industry is going. And so we're looking at, like virtual data rooms, for example. That keyword, probably 3 or 4 years ago wasn't really meaningful. Now it's pretty meaningful. Virtual data room is becoming more prevalent, with things being just more virtual and online over the past couple of years. So yeah, we definitely look at what kind of content is in the queue that we can create around specific keywords. What audiences do we want to target? Do we have audiences that we work with now that we can expand on into like an adjacent keyword? So yeah, it's definitely teamwork, and it's a lot of data.
Love it. Okay, Nick. Now let's get into backlinks, because you're being a startup, it can be hard to get backlinks, because like not everyone's just looking to you or anything like that. But so what are some backlink strategies that you've been doing over at Dropbox DocSend?
Yeah, I think one really good tool that I utilize, and it's just fun to like scroll through, is BuzzSumo. And so you can set up your brand. You could be my company, and then anything online that mentions your company name will be pulled into this sort of dashboard that you can see trends over time. It's going to pull in articles that link to your site, articles that just mention your name, your company name. You can do social monitoring as well. So if people are tweeting about you can pull those in there. That's really fun to do. And you can crawl all those links. You can export it as a CSV and crawl those links. Let's see. One good place to get like a high quality backlink is a community that I mentioned before, which is Product Hunt. So if you have new launches of features or things that you want to talk about, it can be research reports, it can be templates, other types of tools. Product Hunt is a high quality domain, and they have millions of monthly visitors. That's a good way to get a great backlink. Press releases are something that we do a few times a quarter, and so when you do a press release, you shouldn't just be like, hey, like here's my new cool stuff, like go to the naked URL. You can sprinkle in links to key pages. Use a UTM link for those links, so you can track any sort of traction through those specific clicks. And I would, it's best to not, just link, our new tool. It should be like our new document sharing workflow tool, and link that phrase. So then that can help sort of guide Google into what it's actually looking at. Bylines in press, industry publications. So let's say you work in real estate. There are obviously real estate publications and blogs and content creators. I think it's helpful to just reach out, put yourself out there, and get this motion of building an audience for your company, by building those relationships as well. And always ask for a backlink, of course. And I would recommend linking UTM all those links as well. So you can, in Google, you can just track all the traction that you're getting. And another sort of like underutilized thing that I do, one of my passions is newsletters. I read our newsletter here. Yep. And also I work with and have relationships with a lot of newsletter writers. So on a quarterly basis, I will send out just like this newsletter for newsletter writers. And I will say, hey, like here are our new content pieces, take a look. Like here are some pre-written phrases if you want to include them in your email. And that's an interesting way to sort of get links back from newsletters, and that's going to have this sort of like spreading effect across different communities.
Oh, I actually haven't heard that one before. So tell me more about this newsletter technique, because you said you would reach out to other newsletter writers. Like, where can you find these newsletter writers and get a hold of them?
Yeah, so Substack is definitely a great resource. There's tens of thousands of writers there. I think you can filter by different categories and stuff. There's a newsletter site that I run called newsletters.co that actually is a database of just newsletters. And so you can go there, you can click on the link, and then that will take you to wherever they're hosting their site. And then, it depends on sort of how they're hosting their newsletter, how you can reach out to them. But even just a lot of newsletters they will respond to a reply to their email. So, once you subscribe to their newsletter, you get the newsletter, then just reply, hey, I'm interested in chatting, or I work in this thing, or, here's a suggested piece of content. If you'd like to include it in your next newsletter. I think that's a pretty underutilized tactic, but I just have that sort of insight because I've been doing newsletters for 10 years. So yeah, it's fun.
Oh man, that's. I think you just dropped the bomb on that one. I'm gonna look into that one more because that's interesting. And how's been your success rate on getting people to like include your writing? Would you say, hey, I just wrote a new blog, and like, give us kind of like your kind of pitch real quick on how you do this?
Yeah, so newsletter writers, they're curating information, right? So they want to have this. One, it's good to be familiar with what their style is. So if they like, here's the title and here are 2 sentences description, then send them, your content in that form. Here's a title, here's a 2-sentence description. Would you like to include this in your next send, or, share it on Twitter or something? And a lot of the time, they'll respond. They'll say, hey, like, we're full for the next couple of weeks, or, oh, that's great. We'll share it, in the next send. And yeah, it's been pretty effective. Probably, dozens at least of promotions each quarter, which is, low hanging fruit.
Love it. Okay, so I want to get more into. Let me bring this up here. I want to go into. Back into more of like other ways you like monitor performance. Like what's like, I know that's one of the things that you do at DocSend, and you guys, when I say Dropbox DocSend, because DocSend was actually a startup and it got acquired by Dropbox. That's why I say Dropbox DocSend, guys. So that's why Nick came from a startup and got acquired. But let's talk about like performance wise. Like why is like monitoring performance like very important for like startups?
Yeah, I think it comes down to if you which I was mentioning in the beginning. Why I love SEO is about understanding the value of organic search, right? And because how do you get customers? Organic search, there's direct, there's referral, there's other types of channels, but organic search is something that you can directly impact, and then if it's doing well, then it costs less to acquire customers. And so monitoring that and seeing how much organic search does contribute to your revenue is something great to monitor, because it's an ebb and flow of those two sides of marketing.
One of my favorite places for startups is the Hacker Noon, and he says Dre and Nick, and he's a really good friend of mine. David, if that's you behind there, what's up, my man? Someone's birthday's coming up. Okay, so I wanted to go into more your acquisition strategies. On like how is like DocSend's acquisition strategy working with SEO? Like what are some like plays that you guys are doing?
Yeah. Let's see. So templates are a great place to find keywords that are not super competitive, but even if you have 200 searches, then that's 200 potential people that you can get to download your report or access your report or come to your site. So we're producing more templates around specific verticals, which is pretty exciting. So each template is a downloadable template on a marketing landing page, but they each have their own blog post content that is more optimized, just because it's a lengthier amount of copy, and that will help us increase the rankings for that specific template keyword. PPC and SEO, so synergy, so identifying high converting keywords to target from paid search, and lowering paid search CPC by optimizing landing pages, and the versus content, which I mentioned before. That's something we're doing more of now. There's definitely now that we're part of a larger company, there's a lot more sort of competitive content out there. So, this brand versus Dropbox. And so yeah, that's kind of an opportunity that we're looking to get into.
Love it, love it. Okay, guys, I want to talk more into your Google Business Profile, right? Because I mean, a lot of people think Google Business Profiles are just for local businesses. I mean, tell us how you're using the Google Business Profile.
Yeah, I think it's really fun actually. It's like I don't know if you remember like Google Buzz or one of those Google Circles or whatever it was called.
Oh, yeah. Was it Google Circles?
Yeah, there was like a social network that they did, but it's Google My Business profile isn't a social network part, but it's like a profile that a business can continually update, kind of like a Yelp page. And there's a lot of value there. I mean, because when you're searching for a brand, so if you search for DocSend right now, you would see our Google Business page. And on there, you can see, you can edit it as much as you want. So the description, I think there's a 1,000 character limit for the description. And then you can also do updates. So as we update, product features or have like product update blog posts and things like that, we'll post them on sort of as like a mini blog post and then link that to our page, like the actual blog post with the full content. One thing we've done recently is adding product pages on our Google Business Profile. So each one has a screenshot of the feature. It has an SEO rich description and a UTM link directly back to our product landing page on our site. And so now each one of those pages has a direct link from Google, which is great. It's really fun. And also reviews. So reviews. Reviews, we don't have a ton of reviews, but that's like, G2 is a pretty popular review site for software tools, but also Google reviews, right? It's, when someone Googles your brand, these are the reviews that they're going to see first, compared to clicking through to G2 or some other review site. So, that's something we're, interested in doing too, is just increasing the number of Google Business reviews that we have. To sort of increase the value of that company profile.
Love it. Okay, so I want to close this off on how you are able to maintain rankings, because you're every quarter you go after certain target keywords, but I mean we witnessed this where we've seen them kind of fall off, right? Like sometimes we're like, oh, if you don't see them, you'll see them fall off if you don't do any work. So I mean, like, how are you maintaining now rankings for the big keywords like e-signature, pitch deck, all these virtual data rooms? How are you maintaining like these keywords placements on page one?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it is, monitoring the rankings. If something is starting to sink, then sort of flag that and create a strategy like, hey, like we need some fresh content around this keyword because there's another business that is competing for it and they're producing more things. An interesting side note is, what are your competitors writing about? Like if you search for a specific keyword, click on their link and be like, hey, like what are they doing? How are they developing their pages or their content around that keyword? So yeah, for us, it's we publish 2 to 3 blog posts a week. Not all of them are specific to a keyword. Sometimes they're like a founder story or an interview or something like that, but we'll try to point that in a direction towards a keyword. And then also, social media, right? Just continually publishing. So, for us, things like product pages, they're not updated very often, but it's good to have a cadence of, every 3 weeks, every week I'm going to post a different product page. You can keep that content fresh by having different GIFs, showing how the product is used, or, if you have like a help center, you can tweet those articles or post those articles, have those help center articles linked back to your product pages as well. So it creates this sort of loop. Keeping the spiders on social busy, keep them crawling your links. And also YouTube is a great place that we've been sort of repurposing a lot of our research content and creating these sort of snippet videos, 2 to 5 minutes long about specific parts of our research. You can find us at docsend.com. I'm just kidding. Basically using YouTube as a way to repurpose our research into digestible content, and then having an SEO-rich description linking back to the relevant blog piece or content piece has been really great for us. Also, just internal linking, right? Keeping a spreadsheet of our content and prioritizing keywords, and then just making sure that, as we launch, let's say, like a new template, and we have older blog content that we can see ranks for that template keyword, making sure that there's a link to that template landing page on that old piece of content. And I think there's a lot of low-hanging fruit stuff like that really helps maintain rankings.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, guys, if you guys have any questions, please ask them in the chat now. Before I ask my last question, I want to go ahead and ask you what my last question for today is. If someone wanted to become an SEO professional, get into the SEO industry, what would your advice be to them?
Start now. Do your research, right? Subscribe to SEO Video Show, and watch every past episode. I think it's finding, like I mentioned before, finding SEO communities, following SEO experts. There's so much content out there about, how SEO works, and sort of, it going from beginner to super technical, right? And I would just say, start taking the path and experimenting. Set up. You could do something crazy and set up your own blog that's focused on a keyword, and see if you can get that blog, ranking for a keyword, right? Just as a way to experiment with your techniques.
Love it. Okay, I didn't see any other questions come in here, so this brings me to the end of the show. And if there's any advice, any comments, any like anything to make this episode feel complete for you, please, the stage is yours. Nick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I thought there was another part of the show.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I thanks for having me. This has been super fun. You're really great to work with. A lot of these things have been trial and error, but also it's been really awesome to see, as a content marketer, grow into this SEO role, managing it for Dropbox Docsend, and really just seeing impactful results. I'm excited that there are people like you that can impart knowledge across the community, and that we can continue having SEO work even in 2022, right? There's a lot of competitors, a lot of big brands that are sort of owning keywords, but even the little guy can create content and a strategy that can get you ranked highly.
Love it. Okay. All right, Nick, can you hold on for one quick second while I sign off here?
Yeah.
All right, guys. That concludes another episode of the SEO Video Show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And don't forget to also visit our sponsor, hrefs.com/AWT. I will see you next week. Peace out.
Thank you for watching. Hope you come back next week. Make sure to subscribe. You don't want to miss a thing. Hope you learn something new, cause the vibe is incredible. From the special SEO professionals, SEO Video Show, let's work. Want to see you be an SEO expert. Paul Andre DeVera helping you step it up. No delay right now. Time to level up. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe. Woo.